Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni wili wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville, and it is so beautiful in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We're so honored and so delighted that you're joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to subscribe to the show in the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Kyle Lukoff. He is here to celebrate his middle grade novel, Different Kinds of Fruit. Before we invite Kyle into the studio, we want to invite all the authors listening to the show to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. When you go there, you're going to see an Authors Click Here button at the top of the page. That's a really important button for you because that button can give you the information to find out how you can be a guest here on the Reading with Your Kids podcast and tell thousands and thousands of people about your great book in a long-form conversation. Let them know what inspired you. Let them know about your other books. It's fun, it's easy, and it doesn't cost a thing. Oh, that button, that Authors Click Here button at the top of readingwithyourkids.com, it can also let you know how you can submit your book to our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read panel. And if they believe that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a Certified Great Read. Oh! That so important and powerful Authors Click Here button at the top of readingwithyourkids.com, that can also tell you about our monthly promotion program. We can celebrate your book with commercials here on the podcast, with messages to our 84,000 social media followers, and have your book displayed at our nationwide network of digital pedestrian billboards. We have billboards in Boston, Massachusetts, Atlanta, Georgia, Los Angeles, California, Sacramento, California, Hermiston, Oregon, Albany, New York, Toledo, Ohio. Yeah, imagine that. Your book on all of those pedestrian billboards being seen by thousands of people every single day. And if we have any live events that month, we'll display your book at one of those live events too. Check it all out today. Readingwithyourkids.com. Authors Click Here and scroll on down to see every which way we can help you celebrate your great book. Join us right now from Brooklyn and New York City. Our guest is here today to celebrate his new middle grade novel. It's called Different Kinds of Fruit. Please welcome to the show, Kyle Lukoff. Hey, Kyle, how are you?
Hey, Jed, I'm pretty good. How about you?
I'm wonderful. I'm really excited to have you on to speak about Different Kinds of Fruit. The book seems fascinating to me, and I think it's going to be the starting point for a real important conversation. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yeah, so it's about this girl named Annabelle, who is 11 years old, and she gets really excited when a new kid shows up in her class named Bailey. Part of why she's excited is because Bailey's non-binary, and Annabelle has never met someone like that before. So she goes home and she starts telling her parents, like, hey, guess what? There's this new kid in my class. Their name is Bailey, and they just moved here. And she keeps waiting for her parents to say something like, what's that pronoun that you're using? So she can, like, explain everything that she just learned to them. But her parents don't ask her anything, and they actually just kind of shut down and don't seem to want to communicate with her about anything. And it comes to a head when Annabelle brings Bailey home from school one day, and her dad is extremely unwelcoming to the point of being hostile. And then the next day, and this is in the beginning of the novel, this is only like chapter 8 of a lot, Dad shares with Annabelle that he is trans and that he had been the parent who gave birth to her, but that when he made that choice, his local trans community decided that he wasn't a part of them anymore. So he decided to hide away that part of himself and just be a man and a husband and a father. And that is what the novel explores, or these different relationships between these 3 people. And then, of course, other kids in Annabelle's class and Annabelle's mom and Bailey's parents are all characters, but it's really about these 3 people and how they learn from and grow with each other.
Wow. Talk about complicated relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure is.
You know, I think the first question that a listener might have is, wait a minute, this book is for middle grade kids. So we're talking about 8, 9, 10, 13-year-old kids. Are they really ready? Is it really important for them to start talking about these issues of non-binary and transgender at that young age?
Well, sure, there are non-binary kids who are that age, and there are trans people having babies.
One of the things that I've raised my kids, and one of the things that we advocate here on the podcast, is it doesn't matter how you feel about a certain subject, about somebody's lifestyle. The thing that we teach our kids is that every single person deserves to be loved, respected, and included. And so that's, for me, where the conversation starts. So it's interesting that your father character experiences this shunning of the people that he felt was in his community. Is this something that happens a lot within the LGBTQ community?
So the topic that I'm most interested in is intra-community conflict. Mm-hmm. And there is a lot of that within LGBTQ community, since there are a lot of us. And many of us are radically different from each other, but we are often assumed to have similar goals, similar experiences, similar needs, similar histories. And that is not how I've experienced this community. I mean, just that major plot point alone, I think it is less common now, but I do remember back at least, 15 years ago when I learned about other trans men or trans masculine people getting pregnant, and there being other trans men saying, you shouldn't do that. You're making us look bad. You should have stayed a woman if you wanted to do this. I do not know if that still happens within our community today. I hope not, but I know that it sure did happen within my memory, at least.
One of the things as you're talking, because this is the first time I've had a conversation about a trans man choosing to have a baby. If someone feels that they're a man, why? I guess the same questions that the folks that were upset with Annabelle's dad. Why then would you also want to have a baby?
I think there's a lot of reasons. Like there are, I've never wanted to, but I know that some people who want to have children, it is the easiest choice. It is a choice that doesn't require going through any kind of bureaucracy. Maybe if you have like a female, maybe if your partner is a cis woman, she's not able to. And then different trans men experience manhood and masculinity differently. Mm-hmm. And some, I know of quite a few men who've had babies, and the reason is because they wanted to.
I guess one of the things when I think I was thought of as fairly enlightened back in high school and college and as I was starting my career in human services, because the thought at that time was, hey, these gender stereotypes, what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a woman? Well, we shouldn't have these gender stereotypes. A woman can do any job that she wants to do, and a man should be able to stay home and do any job that he wants to do. And now sometimes I feel like that's kind of reversed, because for example, when I heard Caitlyn Jenner talking about her decision to transition, she was saying, I always wanted to wear makeup and I wanted to wear dresses and high heels. And to me, I'm thinking, I was taught back in the 70s that didn't matter. That meant that you wanted to wear dresses and high heels. It didn't mean that you were a different gender. So I'm trying to be respectful and also knowledgeable, but sometimes I'm confused about some stuff.
Yes. So one reason, I can't speak to any one person's experience of their gender, but I do know that for a very long time we have been required to say that about ourselves if we wanted to have access to transition. Up until, I'm sure it still happens now, but if you want to be allowed to get hormones or surgery, you have to say things like that or they won't let you. And that knowledge has also influenced a lot of the ways that we learn to talk about ourselves, even if it doesn't feel entirely authentic. But I also know that there are many people, myself included, who don't talk about ourselves that way. Like I was not an especially masculine child. I mostly just liked to read. I didn't really do much besides read. But there are ways of looking at my childhood that see me as, you know, very stereotypically feminine, and also ways that make me seem very obviously a boy. And none of that really matters. Like what matters is that many of us feel a distinct sense that the gender that people see us as is not the one that we want to be seen as. And that could be for a lot of different reasons. For some people, it is because they are much more traditionally masculine or feminine and want to transition to feel more comfortable expressing themselves that way. And for some of us, it's just a vague feeling of wrongness and that we would feel better if we transitioned. That was how it was for me. But you're also talking about the difference between gender expression and gender stereotypes and internal gender identity. And that is too large of a conversation for a podcast that we're recording at 6:45 in the evening.
Well, you know, I don't expect you to answer all my questions, but I just think it's important for people to know that they can ask questions and have conversations respectfully if they're curious and if the person that you're speaking to feels comfortable about it. You know, because I think that's conversations are where we begin to understand each other. And reading and having conversations about books. One of the things we advocate a ton here on the podcast is for parents and caregivers to continue to read with their kids as they read independently, and maybe not reading out loud different kinds of fruit, but certainly co-reading and then talking about it on the way to soccer or around the dinner table. What kind of conversations do you think families can have if they're co-reading different kinds of fruit together?
Oh man, there's so many that could come up along the way. I think in early chapters, the conversations might be, why do you think Annabelle's parents are reacting that way? That's a little bit weird. I wonder what's going to happen. And then later the conversations could be, oh, that's why Dad was being so weird. What do you think he was feeling in those moments? But there could also be conversations about like the main antagonist is this classmate named Dixon. And there could be conversations about the points that Dixon raises at certain parts of the novel. There's a character who is also named Annabelle, but not the main character. And I could definitely see people being like, I wonder what's up with the other Annabelle. Like, she's a little bit weird, but there's like something going on there. I'm not sure what it is. There's a scene where Bailey and Annabelle meet another kid who's non-binary who goes by the name E, and E has had a very different experience than Bailey. And it might be interesting to talk about what is similar and different about those two young people and why they might be having such different experiences. The novel is called Different Kinds of Fruit because a running theme is the idea that vegetables are a social construct, and that would be fun to talk about. There's a lot going on.
Okay, vegetables are a social construct.
They are.
You can't leave me hanging there.
Yeah, everything that we think is a vegetable is actually a leaf, a stem, a root, a flower, or a fruit.
Okay.
Vegetable does not describe a specific biological reality of any specific plant part.
So why did I grow up learning that and we still hear that?
I mean, Bailey says that people made up vegetables to sell salad mix.
Okay. I like that. You mentioned a character named Dixon. Tell us a little bit about Dixon and what Dixon contributes to the story.
Oh, man, Dixon sucks. Dixon is a character that I could have turned into if my life took some slightly different paths, and I'm very glad that I didn't. Mm-hmm. He is the kind of person who wants to be technically right more than he wants to be morally right. He enjoys poking people until they are uncomfortable. He enjoys finding the loopholes in the rules about how you treat other people. And he doesn't really believe that other people's experiences are as valid as his own.
It does sound like he sucks.
He sucks.
Yeah.
I didn't especially give him much of a character arc. Like at the end of the novel, he doesn't come out and is like, I'm sorry, I'm going to protest with you, or he doesn't do anything like that. But he is shamed by his peers into behaving better, which I think is a valuable life lesson.
Yeah. I think I know people like Dixon in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I know many Dixons.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly glad that your life didn't turn that way and that you didn't turn out to be a Dixon, and that you're here sharing these great books with us. One of the things that I saw on your website is that Different Kinds of Fruit is coming out in April, and then you have 2 more books coming out this year.
It's true, 2 or 3. I have 2 books in a series about a mermaid called Mermaid Days. That's an early chapter book series out from Acorn, which is a Scholastic line. And then I have my first nonfiction book, which is called If You're a Kid Like Gavin. And it's a picture book that I wrote with a young trans activist named Gavin Grimm about when he partnered with the ACLU to sue his school over bathroom access.
Fascinating. I know there are some people who might be listening thinking, well, my kid, we're in the middle of Kansas or Texas or wherever, and this isn't going to be an issue. It's not going to come up. The reality is that there are trans kids everywhere, and that your kids are going to have an opportunity that I hope they take to become friends with a trans kid or a non-binary kid. What's the best advice you have, again, for a parent who's out there thinking, this stuff makes me really uncomfortable. I really don't understand this stuff. And I'm nervous about saying something to my kid that, might confuse them or might send them down a path that I don't want them to go.
If there is worry that your kid will become confused, I have good news for you, and it's that kids are confused all the time. They are often confused about how to tie their shoes. They are often confused about why they can't just have ketchup sandwiches for lunch. They are often confused about math and about other kinds of homework. Kids are confused all the time. That does not hurt them. It is okay for them to not know about something and then to learn about it. That's why books exist in schools.
You are, as I understand it, you're the first trans writer who received Newbery honors.
As far as we know, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. What's the reaction been so far to, I know you've written other books earlier that address some of these same issues. Any kind of backlash that you've experienced?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my books, Call Me Max and When Aid Became a Brother, often show up on lists of books that are being removed for examination or have been read aloud at school board meetings as proof that the library is full of, inappropriate material. But I also get so much fan mail from people, from kids and from adults and from parents of trans kids telling me how much better my books have made their child's lives. And I'm proud of that.
Yeah, well, you should be. Did you always imagine, I know you shared with us that you read loads and loads of books as a young person. Did you always imagine becoming a writer, especially a writer of children's books?
Definitely not. I never thought that being a writer was a real job. It seemed like magic. It happened very gradually for me. Mm-hmm. I just tried a young adult novel and it didn't work. And then I decided to try to sell a picture book that I'd written a very long time previously, and that did work. And I thought, well, maybe I'm good at picture books. So then I kept writing picture books. It happened, it feels like it happened very gradually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And is this something, do you see yourself branching out and doing, writing YA books or adult novels, or do you just love writing middle grade and picture books and you're going to keep to that?
I have one or two ideas for a young adult that I will get to eventually when I have time. I like the idea of writing for adults. I'm not sure if if inspiration strikes, then I'll do it. And if not, then I won't.
Before we go, was there any one person that inspired Annabelle?
Annabelle is basically me when I've had too much sugar. Her voice is very much the voice that is yammering incessantly inside my head. She's a very ridiculous human being, and I am as well.
Wow, ridiculous human beings are wonderful to hang around with. They can be tiring sometimes, but I've been called ridiculous myself, so I am all for that. Hey, Kyle, tell me, please, where can we go to find out more about different kinds of fruit and find out more about you?
You can find me at my website, which is there's dogs upstairs. It's just my name. It's KyleLukkoff.com. You can also find me on Twitter at KyleLukkoff.
Awesome. We've had...
Sorry about pit bulls that are scampering about on the ceiling above me. I don't know if you can hear them.
Yeah, we heard them come through. It sounded like thunder, so we'll just pretend it's raining in Brooklyn. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Different Kinds of Fruit, a brand new middle grade book from our guest, Kyle Lukkoff. Hey, Kyle, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks, Jed.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Dr. Steve Piriano. He'll be here to celebrate his middle grade novel, Josh and Joey's Incredible Museum Adventure. That's the next episode of the podcast. Hey, we would love it if you would connect with us on social media. Facebook.com/readingwithyourkids. At Reading With Your Kids on Instagram. At Reading With Your Kids on TikTok. And at Jedly Magic on Twitter. We also have a great Pinterest page titled Reading With Your Kids. We love connecting with our fans on social media. It's so much fun to interact with folks, to find out what's going on, find out what they like, find out what they would like to hear on future editions of the show. Oh, you can also go to readingwithyourkids.com. First off, when you go there, please sign up for our free newsletter. We are revamping it. Rory Grady is revamping the newsletter. I'm so excited about it. He's doing such a great job. It's going to be filled with author profiles and great things that you can do with your kids, letting you know what's coming up on the podcast, letting you know what you might have missed on the podcast. It's all going to be debuting really, really soon. So be sure you go and sign up and subscribe for that free newsletter now. And you can also use the contact button at the top of the page to let us know what we're doing great, let us know what we could be doing better, and like I said before, let us know who you would like to hear on a future episode of the podcast. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Kyle Lukkoff. Please be sure to check out his middle grade novel, Different Kinds of Fruit. I want to thank my team, Rory Grady, Fatima Khan. Special thanks to Skylar Strauss for editing the show today. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.